Now, when it comes to means of negotiating or ways of negotiating, the role of Mr. Trump is interesting also in another way. He claimed, for example, that he solved the recent flare-up in the violence between India and Pakistan. How do you see his role?
Look, I think where we had the recent fighting between India and Pakistan, first of all, you got to understand what it was about. Okay, it started because it was triggered by a very barbaric terrorist attack in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, where 26 tourists were murdered in front of their families after ascertaining their fate. And it was done in a way in which it was intended to harm tourism, which is the mainstay of the Kashmir economy, and to create a religious discord. Deliberately an element of religion was introduced. And to understand that, you've got to also see that on the Pakistani side, you have a Pakistani leadership, especially their army chief, who's very driven by extreme religious outlook. So there is clearly some connect between, the views that were expressed and the behavior that was done. Sorry?
Did you catch the ones that murdered those 26 tourists?
I think we were able to identify who they were because there were pictures of them. The attack, there was a body which called the Resistance Front, which took responsibility for that attack. And that's a body which has been on our radar for a number of years. In 2023, 24 and 25, we brought this body to the attention of the UN Security Council's 1267 Sanctions Committee. And we said, look, we see this as a body which has been created by the Lashkar. Lashkar is the main terrorist group in Pakistan, one of the two main terrorist groups. And we can see the connection. So we had, well before the April 22nd attack, we had already drawn this to the attention of the United Nations. Now, we identified the people, the attackers. We know that they are linked to the Lashkar. We know the command centers of the terrorist groups, okay? It's not a secret. In fact, I should show you. We have, if you look at the UN Security Council, UN Security Council publishes regularly a kind of list of major terrorists, okay? So it looks like something like this. This is the UN. It says the list established and maintained pursuant to UN Security Council Resolution 1267, whatever. Now, if you go through this list, these very places, the terrorist list, these are famous, well-known terrorists, notorious terrorists. They have a place of residence. It says they operate out of here. Okay. I mean, there's a whole list of these guys. Now, these are the very places which are named in this. These are the ones which we hit on the 7th of May.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify that those people that you know who they are still not caught. But the operation you mentioned, it's still ongoing. How do I balance that with the claims that the recent flare-up has been settled?
No, that is not my assertion, and let me explain this to you, then maybe you would get it. So what happened was, when after the terrorist struck, it was imperative that we have a response, because lack of response, you understand, was impossible in such a situation.
It has been tried in the past not to respond.
Sure, and we've seen the results. Okay, so our government is very clear. Okay, I accept that may not have been the policy of an earlier government, but our government is very clear that if there is such an attack, there will be a response. The response was there. The response targeted these 9 places which were the terrorist centers. After that, the Pakistani military chose to fire on us, and we responded. This went on for 4 days. And after that, the decisive day, I would say, was the 10th of May. Mm-hmm. On the morning of 10th of May, in response to an attack which they had launched on us earlier that morning, we hit 8 air bases. We basically made those air bases non-functional. Mm-hmm. You know, the Air Defense Command Control System, this is the air base mm-hmm. close to Rawalpindi. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, compelled the Pakistani military to accept that we need to stop firing at each other. Now, when you ask me, so why does the operation continue? The operation continues because there is a clear message in that operation that if there are acts of the kind we saw on April 22nd, there will be a response. We will hit the terrorists. If the terrorists are in Pakistan, we will hit them where they are. Mm-hmm. So there is a message in continuing the operation, but continuing the operation is not the same as firing on each other. But I can tell you the message is clear, mm-hmm. and the message is active.
And for some reason, both armies were able to talk to each other, initiated by the Pakistani army?
Yes, you know, we have a mechanism to talk to each other as a hotline.
Yeah.
So on the 10th of May, it was the Pakistani army which sent a message that they were ready to stop firing, and we responded accordingly.
And where was the US in this process?
Well, the US was in the United States. I mean, obviously there were US, Secretary of State Rubio and Vice President Vance had called up. Rubio had spoken to me. Vance had spoken to our Prime Minister. You know, they had their view, and they were talking to us, and they were talking to the Pakistanis, as indeed were some other countries. Yep. I mean, the United States was not alone in this. I think there were some countries in the Gulf, there were some others as well. But the ceasefire, the cessation of firing and military action was something which was negotiated directly between India and Pakistan. We made one thing very clear to everybody who spoke to us, not just United States, but to everybody, saying, look, if the Pakistanis want to stop firing, they need to tell us. We need to hear it from them. Their general has to call up our general and say this. And that is what happened.
Now, Trump claims this cessation of hostilities as a success that he brought about. Not only that, he is offering his help to solve a 1,000-year conflict, I quote. Would you accept his help, and do you think India can benefit from his help?
We've had a long history of difficult relations with Pakistan. And the reason for that is that from the very start, we are talking since 1947. Okay, so 1947 means you can do the maths, 1947 to 2025, and figure out how many years the problem has been. We've had this problem because almost at the time of independence, Pakistan sent in, exactly like this proxy people and said, it's not us. You know, these are tribals who are angry. And then it turned out they were Pakistani military people, some of them in uniform, some of them not in uniform. So they've also pursued a radical, I would say, extremist religious agenda, which using terrorism across the border as a way of trying to pressurize us. This has been their history. Now, if you ask me, how do we propose to deal with it? We propose to deal with it bilaterally with the Pakistanis. It is something that we and the Pakistanis have to settle one-to-one. And we are very clear with them that they need to discuss with us. We are open to their discussing with us and ending to terrorism. It has got to be a serious stop. It is something that we need to do between us.
And the governance of Kashmir, or maybe even the lines that separate the different. Is that up for negotiations in such conversations?
No, because Kashmir is part of India. No country negotiates a part of its territory. So for us, Kashmir is part of India. There is one segment of Kashmir which is today under occupation of Pakistan illegally since 1947-48. So we would like to discuss with them when they propose to leave that part.